let's make this absolutely delicious and my favorite Deghi style chicken biryani. Since I've tried this recipe, I haven't gone back. So in a pot, add in lots of oil, probably a cup. Don't be shy about it. You need to get those onions in there and fry them golden. I've put in 3 large finely sliced onions. I'll keep stirring them, and while they're doing their thing, I'll move around and finely chopped 3 large tomatoes, and make sure that they're finely sliced if you don't like a lot of tomatoes in your biryani. Then I added in 1 green chili and came out in the backyard to pick some fresh mint from the garden. You can also add in coriander. I didn't have any, so I just made do with the mint. I washed it and took the leaves off the stem and added them in there. Don't forget about your onion. By this point it was done, so I switched off the stove and drained it out. I put a kitchen towel on a plate and I drained as much oil as possible from the onion, and I spread it out on a kitchen towel. Make sure to spread it out so that it turns out to be nice and crispy. We don't want soggy onion. This is the oil that I took out of the pot so that I don't have too much when I'm cooking my biryani. Added in that onion into the plate, saved some for later, added in 3 to 4 dried plums, aloo bukhare as you call them, and mixed all this. Now comes the time to soak your rice. I use Sela rice for my biryani. I think that it's more forgiving for someone like me who's a bit of an amateur. Now I've got everything ready because this part really needs to be done quickly. I soaked my rice for half an hour and washed them, and then I've put them with 3 to 4 tablespoons of salt. I added 4 cups of rice and my cup size is pretty standard. Then I added in badi ilaichi, I added in tezpat, bay leaves, I added in shahzira, which are caraway seeds. I also added in some green chilies in there that I forgot to show. Now in my pot I added in some ghee and I added in my chicken. Now the chicken is raw. I added in 1 tablespoon of ginger garlic paste and I mixed it around. At this point, I also added in the potatoes because my husband loves his biryani with the potatoes, so in they go as well. At this point, I realized that my pot was a bit too small for what I intended to do, so I shifted to a big pot. Welcome to Cooking with Sidra. That's how I roll, always making mistakes and learning them. But now I add in 1 cup of water. Now remember that I am using a 250 ml standard size cup of water, and the measurements are really important. Next, I'll add in 3/4 pack of Bombay biryani mix. This makes sure that my spices are balanced out. I added in 1 more 250 ml cup of water, and that's all the water that's gonna go in there. So this has 2 cups of water, and you can see that the chicken is still raw. I'll just bring it to a boil, and as soon as the water starts boiling, I'll add in a little bit of chicken cube just for flavor and switch off the stove. Now my rice is cooking here on this stove top. I'll show you what it looks like. It's still not cooked through. It doesn't have that translucent uncooked rice feel, but if I press it, it doesn't really break apart easily, so it's undercooked. Then I poured in all the chopped stuff that I had on top, and the stove is off right now. I'll just spread it around just to make sure that it just gets into all the corners. Sprinkle on some garam masala. I just went a little bit overboard. Sprinkle some kevra, biryani essence, whatever. I put in 3 drops, and then a generous amount of food color. I am using yellow food colors. Now I've switched my stove on high, and I am taking the rice that we're boiling separately over there, and I'm gonna layer in half of the rice on top. Now at this point, remember that your chicken isn't cooked through, your potatoes aren't cooked through, your rice isn't cooked through. All of this will cook with each other so that all the flavors will just blend into each other. So I've got half of my rice. I've spread it around a little bit, and I'm just gonna let it be. I'm going to cook this on high heat for 2 minutes, so the rice that are in the pot will get an extra 2 minutes of time of getting cooked. And now this is what this rice is like. It can break apart. I've layered the remaining rice on top and switched off the other stove. Put on the rest of my fried onion because I like how it tastes in my biryani. Put on more mint, and now it's still on high, and I'll cover it and cook it for 6 minutes. I even set up timers so that I do not get distracted and I can do my other chores while it's cooking. I'll remove the lid from the pan and set up my other timer for 7 minutes. The lid is removed and I am cooking it on high heat. This makes sure all the water is evaporated and my chicken and potato, everything cooks through. This is the dum stage. I've put on a file and I'll You can cook it for 15 minutes. What I did was I switched off my stove because I have a glass cooktop. The heat remains, and I let it be for half an hour until it was time to serve. I'm using a little saucer to take my biryani out of the pot to make sure all the layers are just mixed through, and you can see what it looks like. This is the final result. Trust me, give it a go. You'd be a bit scared using raw meat and raw potatoes, but it has always turned out really good for me the way I make it. Try it, let me know if it works out for you too.